Sports here live on a Wednesday, which means a couple things. It means throwing shade, and I've got shade today. Something that kind of made me depressed this morning was my shade. It was brand new shade. I was going to throw shade on Bill O'Brien today, but we'll talk about that and why I'm not throwing shade on Bill O'Brien. But we're going to have a good show today because we're talking about an NFL trend or a football trend that has finally worked its way all the way up through high school football, and it's making its way into the NFL. So that's going to be a fun conversation about NFL trends and what the NFL is really taking from high school football, from college football, and now we're about to see a lot more prevalent in the NFL. We'll ask a question: is the wide receiver position now more important than the running back position? Because the running back has been one of the most highly touted positions in all of football for decades and generations. But is there a change in how those two positions are being viewed? Then Tua Tagovailoa came out and announced his jersey number for the Miami Dolphins. He was 13 at Alabama. The Dolphins have 13 retired for Dan Marino, obviously. So a new jersey number for Tua. As he said, a jersey number for one, an audience of one for Tua was his post on social media. So we'll ask you guys, in your opinion, what is the best jersey number for a quarterback? What is the worst jersey number for a quarterback? I've got mine already. Zach's got his. I think Zach is going to not really like what Tua did. That's just my guess on the conversation this morning. So it's going to be a fun show. Welcome in, everybody. Zach, let's get this thing rolling.
Well, Austin, I thought he was making a coronavirus joke, an audience of one, because nobody was going to be in the stands. That's what I thought he was doing.
I didn't think about that, but not a bad observation there, Zach.
You don't hear a lot of coronavirus jokes these days, and so because of what is the impact that it's happened in our country and in our world. But we are going to have a fun show today, and I do think this is a unique topic as we start things off: running back versus wide receiver and the impact that it has. Obviously, we talk a lot about the Titans on this show. Massive impact at the running back position, but you have other teams. I mean, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, what they did in the draft, but how they won the Super Bowl last year. So good conversation today, and we want to get you guys involved on all the platforms. We're on IG Live right now. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Periscope, and we're on Twitch. Also, I'm working on some back technology to bring some more content to the A to Z sports world. So I got my IT glasses ready and waiting this afternoon. Maybe do something fun on A to Z sports, so stay tuned for that. But we're staying tuned for you guys to share the show. Bottom right corner of your screen, if you're watching on Periscope/Twitter, we need you guys to share the broadcast. Bottom right corner, boom, tap those three little dots and retweet us. We need to pop up in your Twitter followers timeline. Also, Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? We welcome you guys in. More people all around the world will pile in here on this hump day to A to Z Sports. And as you do, please share the show. Bottom left corner of your screen, Facebookers, share now to public. It is that easy. Sharing is caring. And we will get started here very, very shortly.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by TennesseeTickets.com. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports. You like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. We're Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make everything happen for our show, for our business, and for you guys, including TennesseeTickets.com, the place you should trust whenever you buy whatever ticket it might be, because they have the same inventory, if not better inventory, than any of those big companies, and they'll treat you better than those big companies, as a lot of you are finding out during these times. TennesseeTickets.com. Renters Warehouse, they're Nashville's professional landlord service. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. There are several ways you can use Renters Warehouse to help you out. Check them out at RentersWarehouse.com. Mandu, the Pulse of Fitness, 1 15-minute workout of full body electronic muscle stimulation. Simulates 5+ hours in the weight room. The science is real. The results are real. If you're up to it, your first workout is free. I've got my workout tomorrow, Zach, as they've opened back up in Brentwood and in Cool Springs. Mandu.com is where to go. The Tucker Agency, Nashville's independent insurance agency, giving you relief by saving you an average of 20% on your personal insurance. TuckerTN.com. Hey, Kelkin says he's got his first free Mandu workout on Friday. That's great to hear that, Kelkins. Calvin and Subtle Hardwood and Finishings, taking CDC precautions to service the Middle Tennessee hardwood flooring needs. To book an appointment, calvinandsettle.com, or give them a call, 615-448-6414, calvinandsettle.com. So, Zach, it's great to have fitness back. I know you're getting your haircut this afternoon or later on this morning. So just take a look at Zach's toupee, as somebody called it yesterday. It's the last time you're going to see Zach this unkempt. Now
I gotta make a big decision too. Yeah. Am I gonna keep the mustache? Am I gonna trim? Based on the haircut, I will groom my facial hair accordingly. I don't know what's gonna happen this afternoon.
I think crazy. Now here's an interesting thing, because you're getting a haircut today, you have to wear a mask. So that means you cannot get a razor shave, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So all of that stuff is out of the picture. So I was going to say, wouldn't it feel great after the quarantine where you can go get your first haircut and get a straight razor shave?
With maybe in 2021. That'll probably be the next.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, God, that would just put it way over the top. Okay. So Zach, we were talking about, what the topic was for today. And I see something pop up on NFL, on ESPN.com. And it is Mel Kiper's big board for the 2021 draft. Now, that's not the story here. The story is not that Mel Kiper has already talked about prospects for the next draft that's literally 50 weeks away, but it's about the trend that I found in his big board for next season's draft and what happened this past NFL draft at the end of April. And that is that finally we're watching before our eyes the 7-on-7s of the world from high school football. All these guys who grew up playing 7-on-7 all summer and spring long and have camps, they have made it through college and they are making it to the NFL, because the wide receiver position is about to be probably one of the most drafted positions in the next several NFL drafts, because the talent that the NFL is putting out at the wide receiver position is going to be so deep and so talented. Because we know this, Zach, there were 6 wide receivers taken in the first round of the NFL draft a couple weeks ago. In Mel Kiper's 2021 big board, he's got 6 wide receivers in the top 20 overall players. So this isn't just an anomaly, because we throw out the stats of 13 wide receivers taken in the first 2 rounds of this draft. It's going to be and continue to trend that way, where the most talent will be at that wide receiver position. And you're going to start to see a lot of drafts look this way.
Well, and you can applaud the Titans, honestly, for not picking up Corey Davis's 5th-year option, right? That goes into what they could draft here in the next couple of years. Look, they may have drafted their best wide receiver, period. At least it's trending that way just after one season. And my guy, A.J. Brown, who just jumped on the scene last year. And I do agree with you. Those 7-on-7, I think the biggest thing that it tells me, Austin, is that 7-on-7 is translating, right? I mean, it's coming over to actual football. I think one of our biggest problems that we had, I don't know, a few years ago, at least for me, there was a lot of skepticism is, oh, no, I don't want football to turn into 7-on-7. That's something those boys play in Florida when they get bored. And it's flag football, essentially. Why we love American football and why it will be the most popular sport in the United States in 50 years, maybe 49, maybe 48, however long we do this show.
I think we've got 48 or 47 and a half years left for that long-term bet.
Yeah, well, that long-term bet, I do believe I'm trending on winning. But I think what it tells me is the wide receiver position as a whole, there's just more. It's gone the other direction of the running back. Now, we're going to ask a question that is different than that, but you see tons of wide receivers making big plays. But here's the one thing about the draft, right? There's always first-round wide receivers that you get scratching your head saying, God, why did that guy not pan out? One comes to mind, an Ole Miss grad, Laquan Treadwell.
Sure.
I thought that guy was going to be unbelievable, and he ended up being a dud, right? So they're always going to be those guys. I'm really curious, though, Austin, of the percentage, right? If you have 14 wide receivers drafted in the first two rounds like we did this year, you sit there and you say, teams put a lot of draft stock into wide receivers, how many of those 14 are going to pan out? Is it going to be 7? Is it going to be 10? Or is it only going to be 4 that really succumb to what they can be?
Well, you look at the names of the first round receivers in this past draft: Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, huge names. Justin Jefferson, big name, won a national championship. Then you got like Jalen Reagor and Brandon Ayuk that played at TCU and Arizona State respectively. So not on as big of a stage as the other guys that I mentioned from Alabama, Oklahoma, and LSU. But those are big time names. They're big time bodies. They're big time school and a lot of production over their college careers. And you're going to have the same type of thing when it comes to next year's draft, because real quickly, here are the 6 wide receivers that are on Mel Kiper's top 20 of the 2021 draft board. That is Jamar Chase from LSU, Rashad Bateman from Minnesota, Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith from Alabama, Justin Ross from Clemson, and Chris Olave from Ohio State. So those are big names. Those are big schools that you're going to see a lot this upcoming season make a name for themselves, because they're going to be putting up points and putting up a lot of touchdowns as well.
All right, so this brings us to our question, because I think I'm really intrigued to hear what everybody has to say. Now, all of these wide receivers are going to infiltrate the NFL, like I think the running back position did however many years ago. We do know that the running back position, as valued by general managers, has been devalued, right? I mean, They don't pay as much. The contracts aren't as long. They're not as big. Now, to certain, like the Ezekiel Elliott's, the Christian McCaffreys, possibly to the Derrick Henrys, they are. But overall, is this going to be an oversaturated market where the wide receiver position becomes the running back position? I think that's a very intriguing question we can hit on. But the question we're asking you this morning is the wide receiver position now more important than the running back? So wide receiver or running back in the comment section. If you're on Instagram Live or on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or Twitch, comment in the comment section, wide receiver or running back. What do you think? Because long ago, it was running back 100%.
Yeah.
What is it now?
And I don't want to hear G-Man say equally. Get out of here with that equally stuff. Don't ride the fence. Don't ride the fence.
You got that fence sticker?
I did, and I got Zach's stickers yesterday. So his stickers that he presented are now on the bucket. We're running out of sticker space. We need to get smaller stickers. But so no riding the fence. Running back or wide receiver, which is more important in the NFL right now? But first, Zach, tell the people about Tucker Agency.
Yes, Tucker Agency is here to help you. They are valued 100%. And you know what you need to do? Just take a step back, assess what your budget is. You probably should. I mean, everybody needs to budget, especially during this time, especially if you've lost income. But times are tough because of the coronavirus and what it's done to our economy, what it's done to everybody individually. Look, A to Z Sports, we've been hit. Everybody's been hit. Now is the perfect time to look and say, maybe I need to reevaluate my insurance to save me some money. The Tucker Agency can help. Will Tucker is the head of the Tucker Agency. His entire team, based here in Middle Tennessee, they care about you. Email Will at tuckertn.com, and he'll help you out. He will assess exactly what your insurance plan is right now and how can he adjust it. The best part is 20%. His customers, the Tucker Agency customers, save an average of 20%. That could be big dollars in your pocket over the months of May, June, July, August, September, and for the rest of 2020. Home insurance, auto insurance. You've got boat insurance. You got a boat umbrella. The overall umbrella of what your policy is, plus life insurance, he can assess those, put you into a different policy, and save you money along the way. TuckerTN.com is the website.
All right, A to Z Sports, a lot of really good answers coming in and more split than what I thought it was going to be. The question is, which is more important right now in the NFL? Is it the wide receiver position or the running back? So I'm trying to scroll back to get to the top of the comments. Pick 6 Barry says it's wide out now. Brian says running back. Louis says no, tight end because of their job duties of having to be a part of the running game and the passing game when it comes to blocking. It's not a bad answer there. But wide receiver versus running back, which is more important? Jordan E says wide receivers. Michael says depends on the style of your team. We're talking full scope here. So Jacoby says wide receiver, no doubt. G-Man says it's a passing league now, wide receiver. Jacob says the difference is you play five receivers on a play. Not every time, but the point is you have more wide receivers on your roster than you do running backs. So the numbers are always going to be that wide receivers have more jobs than running backs have jobs, just because of Jacob's point there. Steph says running back, dominant running back still trumps wide receivers, changes the game more in his opinion. Ethan Ramsey says the receiver position has been more important than the running back for a few years now. Lane says, based on what Kansas City has done, I say yes. Both positions come and go, but more weapons to spread the defense out works in today's NFL. So there's a vote for wide receivers. And Chris says the running back. Zach, what's your opinion? As I've read off several right there from our commenters.
So I go running back, and I find this very interesting. I don't know exactly what it means, but maybe it could tell me something. So I went back and I looked at the statistics of rushing versus receiving, right? The top guys. And if you look at receiving, my answer is running back because I believe in a true running game. That's why I've been King Henry all the way since the day he put on that two-tone blue hat draft day. I was riding with 22. I believed in him. And if you look at the teams and the actual players that are atop the NFL, let's go to receiving. If you look at the top 10, this is pretty crazy. Michael Thomas, Travis Kelce. Those are the only two players that in the top 10 in receiving that made the playoffs. 2 out of the top 10 receiving players in the NFL made the playoffs. If you do look at the rushing stats, now, look, you've got the quarterbacks. Is kind of funny. The top 5 quarterbacks all didn't make the playoffs in passing yards.
All did not?
Yeah, all did not.
When it comes to passing yards, yeah.
Right. But rushing yards, you've got Derrick Henry. They made the playoffs. You have Chris Carson of Seattle. They made the playoffs. You've got, which is crazy, Lamar Jackson of Baltimore. They made the playoffs. And Dalvin Cook, they made the playoffs. So there's 4 versus 2 of the top 10. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that solidifies everything, but I do think that that's telling. I've always believed a running back helps a quarterback, a really good quarterback. I mean, setting up the running game, play action, a bad quarterback can be helped more by a running back than by wide receivers. And that's important. I think Tannehill benefited. I don't think Tannehill is the greatest quarterback in the world. I don't think anybody does. But he played at an all-time level because he had the running back. I think a running back and a running game is much more important than the wide receiver. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, especially if all these guys infiltrate the market and start to saturate the market.
Yeah, so Ethan Ramsey says Buck is about to pop up in this stream and yell at Zach because Zach thinks the running back is more important than the wide receivers.
I'm not done.
Time out. Don't cut me off. I'm not done. As soon as Ethan Ramsey commented that on Facebook, Buck popped on the Periscope. So just perfect timing. Buck's ears were ringing, and all of a sudden he's watching the show on Periscope. Or was. We'll see if he's got some thoughts about this.
I will say this before you get started. Buck was like Deion Sanders, prime time backpedaling on running back contracts when Derrick Henry actually started running well. So that has to be noticed. No, he was strong stance. Never give the running back a big contract.
Well, and I think
he put that bandana on and started backpedaling all the way.
It's called
so
a do-rag.
That needs to be noticed.
It's called a do-rag. But regardless, I think there's a different
It's a bandana. He wore a bandana.
There's a difference when it comes to, do you pay a running back a second contract versus do you pay a wide receiver a second contract? Because I think the NFL has told us you pay the wide receiver a second contract before you pay the running back a second contract, really because of longevity, right? Because and the NFL,
hits.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying.
That's
the NFL
the question, though.
Well, I've made that distinction. I'm talking about the difference between the two. Is because the NFL has told us that on a second contract, wide receivers are safer and a better risk than paying a running back because of what we saw happen to the top 5 running back contracts this offseason. Like the only one left standing on the same team is Zeke Elliott, and he hadn't even started his contract extension yet. So that's true. But for me, it is the wide receiver. The wide receiver is more important than the running back because I think running back is a revolving door. Like running back is a product of the system. Well, they're both products of the system, but a wide receiver can go win a one-on-one matchup and you can scheme that to an extent, but you can't consistently scheme a guy beating his one-on-one matchup. That has to be like mano a mano and just I'm a better athlete. I'm going to get open against you. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, does he get the football? That's up to a lot of other people on if the guy gets the football.
But doesn't that justify importance?
Well, I think, but what the NFL is showing us, like the data, it's catching up, right? Because if this was 2003, I think J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State would have been a top 10 draft pick automatically, right? He's a big dude, fast, him and Melvin Gordon and Swift, all these guys would have been top 10, top 15 draft picks because that's where the running backs were going at that time. Now, those guys are all second-round draft picks. The one running back, again, there were 6 wide receivers that went in the first round of this past draft. There was one running back that went in the first round of the 2020 draft, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was the most versatile of those running backs, the best when it comes to those other running backs, the top tier backs, when it comes to receiving and in the passing game. So that's why he was the first back off the board, especially with the team he went to, because it was based off of fit. And I think a lot of times the running back is dependent on his team's philosophy and the fit for his style, where with the wide receiver position, you want guys of all shapes and sizes and speeds and skill sets. I think the wide receiver is more important than the running back in today's NFL.
Yeah, but I think that you're getting it misconstrued because you're talking about player versus position. The position as a whole is different than actual J.K. Dobbins and how that has changed. I agree with you. I don't think anybody can deny that in 2003, Dobbins is drafted in the top 10, right? Like he is. He could be. Running backs at one point could go number 1, number 2 overall, which is kind of crazy to think about. Now it has changed with how the philosophy of the general managers are, but the actual position of the running back, right? The running game, what he does, I do not think is less important
but
than
the player
receiver.
But the player is
expendable.
expendable.
Said this though, Austin. You've always said it. The wide receiver is the most dependent position, right?
Yeah, and that can still be true.
Somebody else. The running back can get the ball off a handoff and impact the game himself, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get that. But I think when we're talking about the position, it's because it is more important for a team to get a high-end wide receiver in the draft than a high-end running back in the draft, because running backs have proven to be more replaceable, expendable. It could be a guy in the 4th or 5th round that works out really well, a guy in the 3rd round that works out really well. Receivers have those too, obviously, but they're showing you that with the receivers going so high in the draft, 6 in the 1st round, and with Mel Kiper's big board, that's what sparked this thought for me this morning. Is Mel Kiper put out his top 25 for 2021's draft, right? Which is kind of crazy, but you look at it, and in the top 20 prospects, there are 6 wide receivers. There's not a single running back in the top 25. And Travis Etienne from Clemson is a damn good running back. Chubbard from Oklahoma State is really freaking fast and is a really good running back. Not in the top 25. But you got guys like Jamar Chase, the 2 Alabama guys in Waddle and Smith. Like, you're going to have those receivers go higher. And look, Titans for Life is correct overall by saying, Austin, wide receivers are not going as high either. It's quarterbacks, tackles, and D-line generally in the top 10. Yes, that's true, because of the 6 wide receivers drafted last April, the highest was 12, right? We know quarterbacks are going to shoot up the board. We know tackles and pass rushers and just big guys are going to be more valuable than the smaller skill guys. And so that's true too. But 6 wide receivers to 1 running back, and that 1 running back is the best receiver of all the running backs. That tells you what you need to know.
Well, so here's the question. Is the wide receiver position, as far as players, going to become the running back position in 10 years?
All right, so I like that. That's a good thought, and I have a theory on this because you bring up something of what's happening to the running backs now and what I think will happen to the wide receivers down the road. But first, Zach, tell people about Calvin and Subtle.
Calvin and Subtle is the place where you need to get your hardwood flooring. If you are thinking about getting new hardwood floors, calvinandsubtle.com is the place to go. It's very, very easy. You give them a call, 615-448-6414. Give them a ring. This is the next step. They set up an appointment. They'll take the CDC precautions to come into your house. They'll wear masks. They'll wear gloves. They'll make sure that you and them are both safe. They'll assess your situation, whether you're getting new hardwood floors in your bedroom, in your bathroom, in your living room, in your den. They will make it happen. You can either go to their showroom and pick out a sample, or they can bring samples to you. And then voila, you've picked out your perfect hardwood floor. Maybe it's $30 a square foot. Maybe it's $1.99 a square foot. They've got value. They've got luxury. They've got it all. Within 1 to 2 weeks, they're going to come in and install your brand new hardwood flooring. They're going to take out your old hardwood or your old carpet and put brand new hardwood in. And it's that simple. 1 to 2 weeks. If it's a custom job, it may take 3 to 4, but they work very quickly, very efficiently. That's calvinandsubtle.com or 615-448-6414.
All right, A to Z Sports. Don't forget our podcast network. Wherever you subscribe to your podcast, type in A to Z Sports, hit that subscribe button, hit that rate button, give it 5 stars. Tell us how much you like us when it comes to Tighten Up Podcast. New episode out this morning, which had former Titans tackle Brad Hopkins, which I've listened to already. Really good stuff there from the Tighten Up Podcast, A to Z Sports Podcast Network. So, Zach, you brought up is what's going to happen to the wide receivers. It made me think, right now, the running backs, because what you're seeing is they're not getting second contracts, right? You draft a running back, you use him for 4 years, maybe 5 years. If he's a first-round pick, you franchise tag him. After that, you move on from him. You draft his replacement, you do it again, right? Draft, replace, repeat. With the wide receivers, because 6 guys in the first round last year, 13 in the top 2 rounds in the draft this year, and a lot of wide receivers coming out in next year's draft too. Is it the potential that the wide receivers could also, in 4 or 5 years, be draft, replace, repeat, just like the running backs? Because the reason why we're talking about this is because we're starting to see the generation of 7-on-7 camps, 7-on-7 high school football players have made it through high school, through college, and now are going to the draft. And so there are so many more wide receivers playing at a high level that are available that maybe, I'm not saying this has happened to A.J. Brown, but by the time A.J. Brown's deep into his career, is it worth signing that type of receiver to a contract worth $15 million a year when you can just draft a guy who can come in and have an immediate impact for $2 million a year? That could be the trend that wide receivers are going to. And as somebody brought up there,
it will. You've told me could, should. I asked you the question of will. Do you think it will? You haven't told me anything of opinion.
There's one thing I feel that is in the wide receivers' favor is that for the longest time, whether it was in the 90s, the 2000s, or now, running backs have an easier transition from college to the NFL because a lot of it is read and react. And it's how athletic are you? Now, there's pass protection and all that has to be learned over time, true. But it's read and react. It's using your talent, your abilities to be able to gain yards and follow blocks. That, for the most part, is the same from college to the NFL with some nuance there. But receivers, it does and has historically taken more time for receivers to have a long-term impact on a game. Like it used to be the rule that year 3 is when you know if the receiver is going to be great or not. If he's not doing anything by year 3, then you know that's kind of what he is.
And Corey Davis, what do you think?
Look, I mean, maybe so, but we've talked about Corey Davis at length and the situation that he's in. So the one thing I think that the wide receivers can hang on to is that passing game, timing, chemistry, all of that, all the reps needed between a quarterback and a wide receiver, that will make the wide receiver QB connection more valuable, where it's harder to just draft, replace, repeat like it is a running back.
All right, so what I think is going to happen, and we've gotten a couple of good comments. Brian brings this up. You got to remember, these wide receivers, they're divas. I mean, you got Leonard Fournette at the running back and Ezekiel Elliott that have some diva in them. I don't want to discredit that. But percentage-wise, wide receivers are the diva ones, right? That's historically how it's been. And I think with more wide receivers infiltrating it, think that their stuff don't stink, because you're going to get more of that.
It's because of what they are. And wide receivers and corners are the loudest guys in the locker room, in the whole sport, because of what they do. They play on an island. Like, they have to be cocky, because they have to be that confident in their own abilities, because that's the only way they can succeed. And it's just of how those characteristics grow into the position they play.
And Steven brings up the comment, the wide receivers are more respected in the league with all the new rules, right? And you got to agree with them. They've made it impossible for them to cover a wide receiver one-on-one based on what the rules are and how the refs treat them.
Sure.
So I think that comes into effect moving forward. Running backs, that's the tough guy, right? You're expected to get hit. You're expected to get carries through the trenches. That's just something that it is. Here's my prediction, though. In 10 years, I think we've seen this. We've obviously seen this in high school football. You see that label of athlete. And actually, our own Buck Rising brought this up to John Robinson. I was really curious and interested about his answer during one of the press conferences throughout the draft. And Buck asked, positionless, right?
Yeah.
Daniel Jeremiah actually originated and started the conversation of a lot of guys are starting to become positionless. And John Robinson kind of downplayed that and said, no, they still have a position. But I do believe it will get closer to the positionless league, and you'll start to see athlete, wide receiver, running back. You mentioned it. LSU's running back, that guy could do it all, right? For the Chiefs. You're going to start seeing more of those guys. You rant and rave, and my ass is going to get tased because of Christian McCaffrey, right? Because he can do it all. Ezekiel Elliott is a hard-nosed runner, but he's good in the screen game. He can catch. That's something that Derrick Henry, I believe, will and can work on here in the next couple of years to make him more dynamic on third down. That's what everybody's all critical about, and that's why they don't want to pay him. He's only a two-down back. I think that's BS. If you're really damn good on two downs and you have more years to work on three downs, you can become that back. Curious to see what happens. But I think athlete is the way it's going to go. And these running back, you're going to have tweeners, right?
Right.
You're going to have what are they? They're
right. Well, it's like what Tress brings up, similar to what the NBA is now. You have a front court and a back court, not a 1 guard, 2 guard, 3 guard, 4 and 5, right? And Ethan Ramsey says RIP centers. Sure, and like the whole Last Dance, you're looking at Scottie Pippen kind of being that point forward that kind of started the trend of that, and because that's true. But and Buck's question to John Robinson specifically was more about tailored for defensive players, because defensive players have to be able to be versatile because they have to cover
generality, though, right?
Yeah, true.
Everybody's like that. Can your safety also help and play corner or nickel if you get in a bind?
No,
right?
It's because the tight end position has changed so many things in the NFL, because tight ends are now 6'5", 240, but can run 4'6".
Yeah,
and they can go
Howard.
Yeah, no, I mean, all that you mentioned. Travis Kelce was second in the league when it comes to receiving last year.
Well, Travis 2 out of 10. He was fourth.
Okay.
In the
league.
I
get you. So it's still top 10. But the tight ends have forced that positionless. And Isaiah Simmons, who went to the Cardinals number 8, it was the talk about positionless player, because when he was asked what position do you play, he just said defense, because you can play him at safety, inside backer, outside backer.
I love that answer.
Yeah, it's great. It's football guy answer. What position do you play? Defense. It's like what? Yeah, what do you? It's like asking.
You play? I played football.
Yeah, what do you do on the football field? Score touchdowns. Like how? However I can. Right.
The little Giants.
Darrington Evans was that recruited athlete to App State. They used him as wide receiver to get on the field early, and then he became a running back his last 2 years and had success, and now he's a running back in the NFL. I think the wide receivers are still more important in today's NFL than the running back, but I do think there's an opportunity for really the draft is that much more important, because these skill players are as refined as they've ever been coming into the NFL. Like they're They're more in tune. They know how to run routes. They know how to get open. They're physically ready to make an impact early. And so you're going to see a lot of draft, replace, repeat at running back and at wide receiver for the next couple of decades.
And so I think that, and to reiterate why I answered the question that we asked, which is the most important position, it's not the players or how the general managers value them. It's actually the position that it is. I still say running back because it's less dependent than the wide receiver on the quarterback. And a running game wins you games.
Sure.
But I go back to that point because that is the objective of the game. Nobody is denying that the quarterback position is the most important. We all know that.
Right.
But next up, the offensive line helps the running back. The quarterback helps everybody, all that. A running game. That's why running the football and playing good defense in the playoffs to get you to a championship is the recipe. Now, we've seen unique ways to do that with Patrick Mahomes coming on the scene and what he was able to do. But the reason why the San Francisco 49ers were in that Super Bowl, ran the football, played good defense. And I think the Titans are using that same philosophy to make their Super Bowl run here in the next couple of years by drafting defense and franchise tagging their running back.
And next year, they're going to have to draft wide receiver pretty high because
it's a great draft to do it. That's the reason why they didn't draft it.
Because Brent says wide receiver is definitely more important than running back. Too bad the Titans didn't address that position in the draft. I still think they could have drafted a receiver on day 3 with one of their 4 picks. They decided not to, but anyway. But I do agree, and you mentioned the stat earlier, Zach, that 4 of the top 5 NFL leaders in passing yards didn't make the playoffs because they were always behind, and that's all five of them. So those guys had to throw the ball a lot more.
Let's play some trivia. Let's play some A to Z trivia.
All right.
Can you name the top 5 quarterbacks in passing yards? And your hint that
they didn't make the playoffs. I think I know the top 2: Dak Prescott, Jameis Winston.
In not that order, it goes Jameis and Dak, but you are correct.
The fact that Jameis led the league in passing yards is just absolutely
5,109.
And
what's
30 interceptions
going to do with that offense?
Yeah, man, and just throw like a third of the interceptions and probably the same amount of yards. So Dak and Jameis are 2, 3. Matt Ryan. Is he in the top 5?
Don't cheat either. Close your eyes.
Okay, close my eyes. Okay, fine. Matt Ryan.
He is in the top 5. So you have 2 more. You got 3 out of the 5.
Now, it's interesting because Matthew Stafford is usually a go-to in this situation because the Lions never make the playoffs and he always throws for a hell of a bunch of yards, but he was injured a lot.
He was 29th in the league.
So I'm going to go Phillip Rivers.
Ding, 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 ding. You are correct. That's 4 out of 5 of the top 5.
All right, Austin. Let's see what we got here. Who did not make the playoffs that threw the ball a ton?
So far. 1 Jameis Winston,
how
2
about
Dak Prescott, 4 Phillip Rivers, 5 Matt Ryan.
This is a reach. Jared Goff.
Ding, 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 ding. All 5. That's very good stuff.
Whew.
That's very, very good stuff.
That was tough. That last one, I wasn't really confident about that, but I'll take that victory. All right, A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. We still have throwing shade coming up here later on where I thought I had some shade on Bill O'Brien, but I'm actually going to tip my cap to Bill O'Brien later in the show. But now, Zach, let's get to this discussion. I'm
going to wrap this up. Stephen Shaw receives the love of the show because he agreed with me. You got to give a little love to the boy. Right on, Zach. Look at Kansas City's last 2 games. The quarterback had to run the ball in those games. He did all season, more than he did all season. You have to have a running game. I agree with that. Way to go, Steve.
You just wanted to wrap that up so you can get the last word is basically what
I just got to throw the love of the show because I found a comment worthy of the love.
Right. Yeah, because it agreed with you. And so you can get the last word of the conversation right before I moved on. I know what you're doing. I know the game you're playing. All right. So Tua.
I'm running the football. I'm running game.
Sure. Tua is going to wear the jersey number 1 for the Miami Dolphins. So that led Zach to ask me before the show this morning, what's the best and the worst jersey number for quarterbacks in the NFL? Now, we're not talking about like Doug Flutie wearing 22 with Boston College, but in the NFL, what's the best and the worst jersey number for quarterbacks in the NFL? Before we get to our answers and your answers, let me tell you about renterswarehouse.com. The professional landlords in the Nashville area, renterswarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for, because there are alternatives to selling your home when you move out. Renterswarehouse.com can help you continue to build equity in that home you already own. It's an extra cash flow, a second cash flow for you and your family, especially in these hard times. And if you own Airbnbs and there's no business travel, no tourism, you can rent out your Airbnb for 3 or 4 months. There's no binding contracts with Renters Warehouse to help you save some of that income as well. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go.
All right, we do have a time limit because I have a haircut appointment. You got to remember that. 9:30 is my haircut appointment, and this is the protocol. I got to have a mask. I got to sit in my car until my haircut lady calls me. She's going to call me on a burner phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did not know that you had to sit in your car and wait for the call.
That was the protocol. I cannot enter without a mask. I've got my mask ready. I go enter at 9:30. There's a 10-minute cleaning session prior to me walking in, and they have to wait. Yeah, you've got to wait like 5 minutes for it to the cleaning to dry. Like, there's protocol.
I'm fascinated in this process.
Yeah, so I'm going to learn a little bit more. I'll come back tomorrow with
report
my
back.
fresh to do. But I'm going to be out of here by 9:05. That's
okay. That's fine. So we still, look, I think that, hey, congrats to Instagram Live. You're going to see the whole show today. So, all right. All right, Zach, the best and the worst jersey numbers for quarterbacks. The best and the worst has been brought to you by the Tucker Agency, saving you 20% on average for your personal insurance. TuckerTN.com is where to go to learn more about them. I'm guessing worst for you is number 1, because I don't think you would have brought this up if you liked Tua wearing number 1. So we'll start with the worst.
Yeah, and I actually agree with Chris Carter. I think the 2 worst numbers are 19 and 1. Because 20, we're not even talking about that. Shea Patterson, get out of here. Flutie, get out of here. Go eat some Flutie Flakes. 1 and 19 look awful when it comes to jersey numbers. I can't stand 1. 1 is the most irritating for me. But because I do think it's self-indulging first. Right? I just think that it is. And, I mean, Warren Moon was 1, right? Great quarterback. He was a really, really good quarterback. But I just don't think it looks good. I feel like it's a failure. Like when I see a quarterback wearing 1, it's like Cam Newton. 1. Well, you out of the league, or you don't have a team right now, pal. 1, I am anti-1 for a quarterback. That's personal preference.
So here are some notable number 1s in the NFL. Jim Thorpe, number 1. Warren Moon, number 1, like you just mentioned. Fritz Pollard, Curly Lambeau, Patty Driscoll. I mean, Cam Newton's really like Gary Anderson, the kickers. Like 1 to me is a kicker number in the NFL. I feel like 1 through 4 are kicker numbers in the NFL. But in college, number 1, put it on a D end. I think number 1 in college, you put it on a linebacker like Leonard Little at UT wearing number 1.
Love that.
Just badass. Right. Because in college, single digits are supposed to be for your biggest badasses on the damn field. I don't care how much they weigh.
Agreed.
Right? But number 1 in the NFL, it's like complete opposite. Like there's not a number that I feel more opposite about than the number 1 on a jersey in college and the NFL.
Yeah, and on IG Live, Mickey 1045 said 1 used to be a huge deal in recruiting. Guys wouldn't go to certain schools if they couldn't get it. It's like 46 for him. I think that's such an ugly number. Yeah, 46. I love 47 because of John Lynch. That's one of my favorite numbers.
But that's just because somebody made it.
Right.
Kyler Murray's number 1. And what did we kind of feel about Kyler Murray in the draft process? Kind of a selfish, weird guy, right? Like everybody was kind of like Kyler Murray, like refusing to answer questions. I don't know how I feel about this guy. Cam Newton has been the Superman, selfish type of guy. He wore number 1. So number 1, I feel like has a stigma on it. Now, Tua, everybody's talked about how great of a person Tua is and that he's number 1. When I first saw Tua have the number 1 jersey, I automatically thought He's a bust. That's it. Like there's no way Tua is going to succeed. He's a bust. That honestly, my immediate reaction was that.
We mentioned number 19 as well. I don't like 19. Johnny Unitas, probably the most famous 19 that I can think of right now.
After that, it's like Elvis Gerbach. Right. Yeah. And so my worst on my list that I wrote down was 19. Because I'm not super anti number 1, but number 19 for a quarterback is given out because he's a practice squad quarterback and it was the last thing available, right? Now, I like 19 as a wide receiver. I think 19 as a wideout looks sick.
Keyshawn Johnson, throw me the damn ball.
Keyshawn, Tajay wore it for the Titans. Adam? No, I'm just saying, like, what Adam Thielen's 19. Like, there's a lot of 19s when it comes to wide receiver that look really good. And Keyshawn was on the early side of wideouts wearing team digits to make them cool.
All right, so what's the best number? Now, this gets very interesting because it's all pan-personal, right?
Right,
I mean, it's all opinion. What's the best number in your opinion, Austin? I'm curious about this. I think we made a line on this.
You think so?
Maybe.
I don't know. What?
Maybe. Who knows? What's your best number?
8.
Okay, we don't align.
I love the number 8. And I was 81 in high school. I wanted to be 8, but my sophomore year, a guy who played basketball, who didn't play football, was like, I want to play football this year. And so he just stole the number 8 from me as a little sophomore kid. Can't have this number, but 8 is my number. And I wasn't a quarterback, but I love the number 8. Steve Young was my first quarterback who I became a favorite of because he was left-handed. I'm left-handed. So 8 to me is a great, and Tress just named the guy who stole my number, Nick Crow, right there. So Tress just knowing way too much about me, but yes, Nick Crow stole the number 8 from me.
Tress is in your head, bro.
I was super sad about number 8 being stolen from me, but I liked 81 because it looked good too as a wide receiver. So 8, I think, is the best quarterback number.
Yeah. So quarterback number for me, and I don't know why, because it's not one of my favorite numbers. One of my favorite numbers is 18, and that's not my number of a quarterback. I like the number 16 for a quarterback. And maybe it was Peyton because he was at Tennessee. Maybe
Big Orange, right, Zach?
Joe Montana. I don't know why. That number is it just kind of shows quarterback to me. I don't really have a description, but that number makes me think quarterback more than any number.
Well, you know how like in soccer, number 10 is for like the best player. Like every great player wears like number 10 in soccer. That's just kind of how it goes. Sure. I feel like 12 is kind of that for the quarterback position.
Well, yeah, Jamie brings that up. Bradshaw, Brady, Rodgers, Staubach. That is
there's so many 12s. 12 is a great quarterback number. But I like 8. 8 is my favorite quarterback number. I don't know. It's Steve. Maybe it's just Steve Young because I honestly cannot name a bunch of 8s at quarterback. But Titans for Life says 16 for a quarterback is like 34 for a running back.
I don't mind 34 because 34 makes me think you're a big back and you're ready to pounce.
You know what? I want to talk about running back numbers because I
gotta save it.
Well, I know. I'm gonna keep that in the back pocket. Because we can
trend. This is a good conversation.
Yeah, I like this. Everybody loves jersey numbers. Everybody loves talking about jersey numbers. Aikman was number 8. Thank you, Greg. But there's not a ton of
Young. Oh yeah, you mentioned Steve Young. He's 11.
Steve Young was what started this for me. But there's not a lot of 8s currently. Like, I'm not like a big
Lamar Jackson,
Mark Brunell guy. But
Lamar Jackson. And Lamar
Jackson's 8. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Mark Brunell, right, for the Jags. So look, we'll save our Marcus Mariota was 8. I completely forgot about that. Honestly,
you're trying to get Mariota out of your brain. That's exactly
and Strike says just found out Austin is secretly a Mariota stan with that 8. I honestly completely forgot that Marcus Mariota was number 8. As weird as that was, because we talked about his ass yesterday, I forgot that he was number 8. During this whole conversation.
Roger brings up Vinny and the Jets. Vinny Testaverde. I've been playing NFL Blitz lately, and that is my team, the Jets. Vinny Testaverde with Curtis, my favorite Martin.
You know what? When I played on N64 NFL Quarterback Club 98, I loved the Jets too.
Oh, yeah, they were great.
I would always
bet. Yes, please.
Yes, but Curtis Martin would always get hurt because all I did was run like a sweep toss to the right, and he would just pull hamstring at like the 10-yard line. That happened all the time. But yeah, I number 8 for me is the best quarterback number. 19 by far.
I think Trevor Lawrence. What is Trevor Lawrence? He's 16, isn't he?
Yes, because he grew up a Peyton Manning fan. That's right. Just another freaking indictment of Butch Jones. Trevor Lawrence grows up a huge Tennessee Vol fan because he loved Peyton Manning, wants to wear 16, and Butch Jones could not land him. Clemson takes him. They win a national title.
So we'll do this. We'll continue through this. I think this is the reason why we started this series, brought to you by Tucker TN, Tucker Agency. If you need different insurance, you probably do. You can save a lot of money at Tucker Agency at tuckertn.com. But best and worst, we'll start doing this jersey number, and we'll go through the positions because everybody's got really good opinions on this.
Yes, and it brings up funny things like me completely forgetting about Marcus Mariota for like 5 minutes. So let's get to shade because Zach's got 7 minutes before he has to go get his haircut. So throwing shade here on the show. My shade was peak quarantine and honestly made me a little depressed this morning. So throwing shade, but first let me tell you about Mandu. Something that I'm not depressed about at all is that Mandu is back open in Brentwood and in Cool Spring. I worked out again for the first time in 6 weeks on Friday. I got my next workout tomorrow night. Excited about Mandu. It's a 15-minute workout. You might think that sounds ridiculous, but it's full body electronic muscle stimulation, and there is zero pressure and stress put on your joints, and it's all about building that strong muscle and targeting that hard to burn body fat. And with the in-body analysis, you can see your progress and track your results as well. The science is real, the results are real. I've lost 9% body fat, kind of gained 2 back after the quarantine stuff, but working on that. But look, because of what Mandu did, I was able to save a little bit of what I did over the last year with Mandu. Mandu.com. Kelkin said his first free workout is on Friday. Yours can be too in Brentwood and Cool Springs. Mandu.com.
A to Z Sports. Make sure you check out our podcast feed and follow all of our social media. We broadcast live at 8 a.m. Don't forget Bucks Primetime Live podcast that we stream live at 8 p.m. That's a great show too. Good content rolling out on all of our platforms.
All right, I'll start with the throwing shade because this truly did depress me a little bit, and I tweeted it out. It's a screenshot of the front page of ESPN.com. And the top 2 stories on Wednesday morning, May 6th, if this wasn't the coronavirus, it would be about the NBA playoffs. It would be about rookie mini camps. It would be about God knows what. Something that's not ranking the 50 worst Premier League transfers of all time and the Korea Baseball Organization highlights from last night. Because the top 2 stories on ESPN.com couldn't be more peak quarantine. Ranking the 50 worst Premier League transfers of all time and Korean Baseball Organization highlights. That is my shade. Gosh, this sucks.
That is #brutal. I mean, it just is.
And I refreshed it, and this one's better, but it's still like super peak summer because I refreshed it, and ESPN.com currently has ranking the top 74 sneakers in NBA history, which I guarantee Zach is going to read while he sits in his car waiting for his haircut lady to call him.
Possibly. Lewis says,
I'm going to text you that link so you can have that for your own entertainment.
I'm throwing shade at my fellow New Yorkers who throw social distancing out the window as soon as they start to get nice weather. I think that's just cabin fever setting in. Danny says, I'm throwing shade on the Rona because I had tickets to see Joe Rogan in Charlotte in June, and they aren't going to do it. I also had tickets to go see Bill Burr this April, and I couldn't go because of the Rona. So I agree with that.
Don't forget your pit bull.
God, I don't even think about that. Gmail base says he's throwing shade at people who ride the fence. Don't like those losers.
Throwing shade at himself this morning.
Tyler says shade at Clowney because you're playing a bidding war with a contender and your favorite coach and best friend, insinuating the Titans and Mike Vrabel. Let's see. James says, I'm throwing shade at people who call me an expert. I'm a Titans fan. Rudy says, I'm throwing shade at 2 millionaire who doxed college students because they couldn't handle criticism. My shade is actually based on this weekend. I was driving around, and this is something I don't understand. In 5 minutes, I'm going to have to leave for my haircut appointment. And I'm going to have to wear a mask for the second time. Yesterday, I had to go into FedEx to send or scan something, and they require you to wear a mask to enter. It was the first time I'd ever had them. I had a mask in preparation for my haircut. I used the mask for the first time yesterday. Very weird. And look, I'm not downplaying people who wear masks. I'm not cool because I usually don't. But here's my problem. And my shade is the woman and generality, the people who drive around wearing their bandana and masks in their car. What the hell are you doing? The Rona is not like Venom from Spider-Man, where it's going to latch into your air conditioning, crawl across your steering wheel, and suck up through your nose. You don't have to wear your mask in your car. Okay?
It's not like it's the Monstars from Space Jam are coming to steal your talents.
Like, that's so ridiculous. I took a Snapchat this weekend, like, lady, what the F are you doing? Take the mask off, okay? You look ridiculous, and you make this world look ridiculous by riding and driving in your car. I actually saw two people. This was even more. Two older people, husband and wife, I would assume, both wearing masks driving down the road. Take that crap off. Breathe a little, okay? You're in your car. Would you do that in your own house? What the hell are you doing? So my problem is in your car. If you want to go outside, if you're interacting, if you're at a grocery store, right, more power to you. You're being safe. Understand that. In your car, get the hell out of here. Take the mask off.
I agree. Brad says, I never thought I would wear a mask in the bank and ask for money, and I got the money.
I was in a bank yesterday for 2 hours. I was doing a bunch of crap yesterday. It was a long day. The door was locked. They asked me like 5 questions of, have I been to New Jersey or New York or Connecticut recently? I was like, no. If I've experienced symptoms, all that. Then they allowed me in. I was in there. I didn't wear a mask. And it's different because everybody has their own perception about it, right? Some people are like, ooh, I can't get it. Some people just are very lazy about it, just like, hey, doesn't matter. I'm somewhere in between. I wash my hands. I use that stuff we used yesterday, the sanitary, to sanitize. I get that. It was refreshing, though, yesterday, talking to a banker, and we sat there, and we had to do a bunch of stuff. And I sat there, and I was, like, talking to her normally. Like, it made me feel normal again, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, Bobby says, would you rather touch a shopping cart, then touch your face to put your mask on, or just put it on before you leave? No, like, I think what Zach's saying is, like, carry your mask with you, get in your car at your house, drive to your destination. Before you exit your vehicle to enter your destination, place the mask on, then you go, right? And then when you get back and you re-enter your vehicle, you can then take the mask off and go back home. Like, that should be common sense. And now Chris says, dude, just wait till you get so old you forget to take the mask off when you get in your car. So
that was not the case.
Well, my wife and I had a very similar conversation when we were driving somewhere over the weekend, and it's just, why are they doing that? And we were next to a red light with somebody doing that, and then the next red light we saw them, they had taken it off because maybe they're like, oh, I don't need this right here, and forgot about it. But yeah, I agree. It's interesting.
So that is my shade for today.
All right, Zach, we've officially gotten the IG Live audience to consume the entire show without the 1 hour cutoff. And you are 1 minute late to your 9:05 haircut deadline.
That's all right. I talked a little bit longer. I'll take it as a heat, but I got to get the hell out of here.
All right. Happy haircut day, and we'll see you tomorrow. And I'm excited to learn about the protocol and the process for you to get your haircut today. So congratulations on getting a haircut, and we will see you guys later on.
Adios.